habits of David Gilmour are the most important habits regarding certain techniques, most notably bending and just the overall melodic nature of his playing. I think there's one thing that separates David Gilmour from a lot of other guitar players, and that's something that is often overlooked, I think, when analyzing a lot of different guitar styles and things like that. It's the finger tone. So finger tone, I think, is a more direct analysis of tone. So when some people think of tone, maybe the first thing they think of is like amp settings or materials that a guitar is made of that allows a guitar player to achieve their sound. But really, tone is in the fingers, and there's no better example of that than David Gilmour. So what I mean by this is, instead of playing a note like this, he would play a note like this. There's a very subtle difference there, and it's just a delicate nature that he has. Of course, he was never afraid to rock out and rip, as I tried to demonstrate in that little style of David Gilmour that I started the video with. However, there's still some delicate nature that is inherent in David Gilmour's guitar playing, which is where you get those really soulful bends and those really discreet rakes on the strings, and just the overall way he's able to kind of flow through that pentatonic sound without sounding, you know, pentatonic-y. So that'll bring us to the first habit of David Gilmour, his favor for the natural minor sound and pentatonic sound. He was one of the real premier classic rockers to really blend this sound with this sound. So obviously he had his blues licks, but he also had these natural minor tendencies. So I'm sure a lot of you watching this are familiar with that tonality. I'm not going to harp on that too much. Just know that if you're trying to find the David Gilmour scale, there isn't one. It's just the natural minor scale and the pentatonic scale for the most part. It was really pentatonic and Aeolian based. If you're interested in learning the Aeolian mode and all the major scale modes, of course, you can check out my course, Guitar Super System, linked down in the description. You'll learn all about that. So moving on to the kind of premier staple habit of David Gilmour, it's his bending. And I practice the Comfortably Numb solo, the first solo, for bending. That's what I do when I want to practice my bending and hone my technique. I practice that first solo. So I'm going to show it to you real quick, but then I'm going to break down the mechanics of what makes his bending different than pretty much everybody else's. So if you notice, his bends were so concise, getting from one pitch to the next without any fluctuation. And of course, that's always the goal when you're bending, but he had this kind of smoothness to it, and he achieved that by having this very fluid motion to get from pitch to pitch. So by learning that solo, you really work on those mechanics by getting up to that pitch. And I've done this lesson before where you take a note, go down a whole step, and then add the vibrato. So that is the perfect solo to practice an exercise like that in like a musical context. So the mechanics of this, let's get down to the habits, what makes these bends different than other people's. So what he will do is, instead of just bending straight to a pitch all the time, his phrasing would be really methodical, to where he would really accentuate each note instead of just, it would be more like. So that is the David Gilmour habit that I think is really critical to nail, is the soulful letting really slowing things down and being in touch with the notes. The claw grip, which I've gone over in a lot of different habits videos and other lessons, definitely something that like Steve Vai uses and Jimi Hendrix. So there's a huge gambit there. The claw grip is what's going to give you the most stable vibrato. So regarding his vibrato technique, you always want to end on the up. What I mean by the up is the upward motion. Vibrato is an up and down motion. You always want to end on that up motion. See how I end on the right pitch? If I end down, then I'm out of tune. So. Again, remember to practice bending up to the pitch first without vibrato, and then adding the vibrato. The final and probably most important element of David Gilmour's bending is his ability to go beyond a whole step bend to sometimes 2.5, 3 steps above his original pitch. Maybe not 3, but it would sound something like this, and you'll recognize it immediately. So yeah, 2 steps above. Again, it all comes back to the claw grip. You're not going to be able to bend 2 whole steps above if your thumb is behind the neck like that. So you want to make sure to have this anchor and really just, I mean, it's going to take some finger strength. David Gilmour didn't have weak hands. You really got to throw your hand up there and get a lot of inertia happening, a lot of pivoting on that ring finger. Of course, you're not going to do this with any finger but your ring finger, because really your fingers have to combine to form one super finger in order to have the strength to get up 2 steps. So we're getting up from the 15th, 17, 19. We're getting to this pitch. So 15 to 19. So to wrap up Gilmour's lead style, it was really all about the Aeolian mode and minor pentatonic tonality. He would play, you know, any kind of blues licks, but it would just have that Gilmour infused soul. So what I want to show you next is his rhythm guitar playing, which is often overlooked for a lot of guitar heroes because we are always drawn to the lead stuff. But I want to give you a quick glimpse into what David Gilmour would do regarding rhythm and how he was one of the best guitar players at serving the song. So for instance, the groove in Another Brick in the Wall is something like this. Did you notice anything? I didn't play for many beats. That's really hard to do for guitar players. So serve the song. James Valentine from Maroon 5 said that in one of the videos that I did when I was at NAMM this year. How do you play guitar in 3 words or less?
Serve the song. Boom.
It's like you've answered that before.
No,
but have you?
I just came up with that. That's the
authenticity.
best answer I've given in any interview ever.
Serving the song is something that's extremely difficult to do, but it is so common for all the greatest guitar players to have that trait in their guitar playing. It takes a lot to not play. I'm still working on that. You might still be working on that. We all have to work on playing less, especially when you're in a band setting. That is a testament to David Gilmour's musicianship. So he would always serve the song, and serving the song doesn't necessarily mean dropping out for measures at a time. It can also mean filling up all the space where you're meant to be. So an example would be this kind of chord progression where he would just be expansive.